right, well, we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you to all who have joined us. My name is Will Reese with AFC Vacations, and we are bringing you the wonders of the Blue Danube River Cruise. Now, we have two dates for this year, this fall, October 10th and October 17th, so either of those are available to book. The one category that is limited is the category C of the cabins, and I'll go into that in a little bit more detail, but the cabins are filling up, and it's good to get your first selection of choice when it comes to those cabins. So I'll talk more about that, but thank you again for joining us. For those of you who are new to AFC, what we offer are worldwide tours and cruises of all different travel styles, whether it's our Unpack Once tours with one hotel stays, our classic tours by motor coach, or our European river cruises that are a fully chartered experience. We have a lot to offer, different destinations, over 80 destinations worldwide, so a lot to choose from. What's included with an AFC tour, first and foremost, is round-trip airfare, and that's shown in the brochure with the rates and details there. So really great opportunity to know what the pricing is up front. And if you do have friends or family members that want to join you for the programs from other parts of the states, we're more than happy to plan their trip and get you to the destination. And they can give us a call and we can incorporate them as well. We have a wonderful team of tour operators, tour managers, and tour directors, and they do a great job of guiding you through the experience along with local guides in each of the areas. And then a couple of guarantees that we offer. First is our guaranteed departures. So those are shown in the brochure as well on our different presentations that we do. And what that means is once they reach guaranteed status, those trips are ready to go out the door with enough passengers to travel. We also have our guaranteed pricing. And what that means is once you put your deposit down on a trip, your price is locked in. So even as fuel prices change, as other things come our way from our vendors, that doesn't get passed on to you. And that's what you can expect from AFC. One of the great values with us is a home pickup airport service, and that's based on a 40-mile radius from the airport, from your home. So if you're within that, it's an included service. If you're beyond that, there's a surcharge, but still reasonable and a great opportunity to simplify your travel experience. So we pick you up at your door, take you to the airport, and bring you back at the end. If you use Uber or Lyft or get a ride with friends or family members, you can use our pickup credit, and we take off $100 from each person if you don't use that service. So let us know as you're booking if you plan to use that or not, and it can save you money if you choose not to. One of the other aspects when it comes to our trips is a great value, and we offer a lot of great values and a lot of fantastic offerings. Our first is our risk-free deposits. And so once you put your deposit down, up until 90 days prior to the departure, if you did have to cancel, even without the travel insurance, you'd be able to use those funds for a future travel credit, and you wouldn't lose anything up front. So that's a great opportunity to hold your space on a tour, make sure you're able to go. And then if something did come up in that time frame, whether you do have the travel insurance or not, up until 90 days, you can get that travel credit. Our loyalty club is our Travelers Club, and that is a setup for those folks that have traveled with us on a regular basis or continue to travel with us. So if you book a trip with us and a second within 18 months, that second tour is automatically $100 off, and that applies for each trip thereafter within that window. And we are a company that started by word of mouth. People told their friends and family members about us, and we grew from coast to coast. So if you do tell your friends or family members about AFC Vacations and they do take a trip with us, your next tour can be $100 off, and that's combinable with these other offers. Last but not least is our early booking savings. And so how that applies is the first 20 passengers booked on a trip can save up to $100 off on domestic and international trips, and up to $200 off on our European river cruises and those exotic programs that we offer. This applies to the 21st and 40th client as well to book on a trip at a reduced savings of $75 per person based on domestic and international, and up to $100 off on those European river cruises and exotics. So you would pay your final payment by check and being within those first 20 to 40 to book. What AFC is really about is real people and real service. And we've been providing a great service to our community and that beyond since 1982. So a wonderful staff in our office that handles your questions, helps plan your trips, and then a wonderful team of tour managers out on the road that make sure you're safe and having a great time as you explore those new destinations. We are also part of the USTOA, that's the United States Tour Operators Association. And so we're a select member of about 50 tour operators nationwide that are covered under a $1 million Travelers Assistance Program. So really helpful to book with a company that's partnered with the USTOA, as it does protect your investment. Getting into this wonderful program, this is a fantastic cruise on the Danube River, one of the major rivers of Europe and one of the most fascinating areas with beautiful cities, amazing sights all throughout. And how this program works is we will fly into Budapest on the October 10th departure and the opposite direction on the October 17th departure. So on the 10th, we go Budapest all the way through to Regensburg in Germany and fly out of Munich. And on the 17th, it goes the opposite direction. I'll go into specifics here in just a moment. On this program, we have 20 meals included. So all of our breakfasts, 6 lunches, and 7 dinners. And so every meal on board the ship is incorporated. We arrive into Budapest on day 2. So it's an overnight flight from the US. We arrive usually morning or afternoon and board the Amadeus Nova. So you're met by your tour manager outside of baggage claim. You'll need to leave the baggage claim area into the arrivals hall to be met. And then from there, we'll take you to the ship, and the beautiful Amadeus Nova becomes your home. And it's just a spectacular vessel that is brand new. It was just launched in 2024, and I was able to get on the inaugural cruise, and it is stunning. And it's one of the most modern ships I've seen. Beautiful interior, amazing design, and there's a lot to offer on board. Now, this ship holds about 158 passengers in total, and again, launched in 2024 as a floating 5-star ship. And it's a premium experience, a really wonderful opportunity to explore the rivers of Europe and not have to pack and unpack every day to get a chance to see these amazing countries, with 4 countries in total. We have a beautiful restaurant and panorama bar that offer great sightseeing from each, and those have floor-to-ceiling windows. And then over 67 large staterooms and 12 suites. So a lot to see and enjoy. This is the modern and beautifully lit reception area of the vessel, and they have a reception staff available at all times. The panorama bar and lounge is where we'll gather for information throughout the cruise. We also put a daily planner in your cabins each night, and that gives you the details on what's coming up and the schedule for the next day. And that usually goes into the cabins in the evening while everyone's at dinner, and it really does give you a great insight into the program. Now, we also do port talks on board, and the cruise director, who stays on board the ship the whole season, gives a great description of each day's activities, the expected weather, and some of the fascinating sights that you'll see, so you're preemptively prepared for the next day. We also do some fun activities in the lounge. There is live entertainment, and there are a couple of entertainers that stay on board the ship and perform each and every night, so you have live music there. And again, the wonderful bar and bar service that's provided. This is the lounge. This is the back area of the vessel, the Amadeus Lounge, and it's a really nice, intimate setting for folks to enjoy. A lovely seating area that holds about 30, but usually there's only a handful of folks back there and reading a book, doing a puzzle, those types of things, but it's a really quiet, peaceful area where you can still enjoy the scenery from. On the top deck, this is the sun deck, and there are all sorts of great activities on board there. Lots of great lounge chairs and areas for seating. Grab a drink and take it up top. That's one of my favorite ways to enjoy a sunset. And then the beautiful heated pool, a little infinity pool, which is a great aspect to this vessel, but very comfortable and modern. There is a fitness center on board the ship. I don't see too many people using it because they're on vacation, but if you do want to stay active, besides the tours, it's a great way to remain intact and in fitness. And then on board the ship, all of our meals are included. And each of our dinners are four-course meals and served with hand-selected wines, beers, and soft drinks. All of our breakfasts and lunches are generally buffet style, and then a full plated service dinner and with those great features. You'll also have those splendid views as we cruise, and so you really get to enjoy the sights and surrounds as we go. And these are a couple of images of the dining room, so you get a chance to see out from those areas, whether it's the city that we're docked in or whether we're cruising along the river. It's just a wonderful opportunity to enjoy a peaceful meal in a great setting. And the service on board is another thing I really absolutely appreciate. They go above and beyond to make sure they know your preferences, know what you like, as well as dietary restrictions. So that's always nice. They ask you what you can and can't have, and so they get to know you quite well as the cruise goes along. In terms of the layout and the deck plan, there are cabins on three different levels. And so the lowest level, the Haydn deck, is categories E and D, and those are fixed picture windows. And then the middle deck, the Strauss deck, named after all the great composers, or many of those, are categories B and C. And then the Mozart deck are those categories A and the suites. Again, there are 12 suites on board, so those are the first ones to sell out usually. Great service, as I mentioned before, both in the restaurant as well as throughout the ship. And they're a wonderful team of housekeeping staff that maintain your rooms. And I call them the housekeeping ninjas because they're in and out before you know it, and your room's completely cleaned every single day. And it's really a comfortable way to travel. These are our suites. These are on the Mozart deck, so the very top deck, and some of the best locations on the ship. And so these are plenty of space with a lovely seating area. Each of the cabins have a flat screen TV, a phone, a in-room safe, and a private restroom. So bathroom and shower on board. And these suites also have a step-out balcony, and that makes for a more enjoyable experience. You can leave the sliding door open and get that fresh breeze going. But the suites are 284 square feet, that walkout balcony, dressing area, so the great walk-in closet, and all sorts of fantastic space in these suites. So these are the largest cabins on board, and that's one of the reasons why they do sell out the quickest. Categories A, B, and C are a drop-down window, what are called a French balcony. So you get fresh air into the cabin. It's a wonderful opportunity to enjoy the sights and surrounds as you travel through Europe, and another comfortable experience in these staterooms. And these are about 188 square feet, so really well situated. Again, those closets, the restroom, as well as a seating area, and all of the other amenities that I mentioned, including that desk. Hairdressers are available on board as well in each of the cabins, and then those safes. Categories D and E on the lowest deck, the Haydn deck, have a fixed picture window, and that really allows for great lighting to come in. Those windows are situated above the waterline, and a really comfortable stateroom as well. These are a great value, the lowest cost on the program. And so if you're looking for lowest cost while also enjoying the public spaces of the ship, this is one of the best values there is. And these are about 172 square feet, but all of the same amenities available as well. We will start out once we board the ship with an introduction to some of the ship staff and crew. We also, as I mentioned before, provide 2 to 3 tour managers on board the cruise, and those are there for your assistance to answer any questions, as well as to help with logistics. And they do a great job of managing the program on behalf of our clients. And so once we board, we get that introduction. We also do a welcome drink. And then our welcome dinner on board is one of the nicer meals that's incorporated. Now, all of the meals are casual. You don't have to dress up, but folks tend to like to dress up for the welcome and farewell. Again, not formal, just a nice opportunity to put on a nice dress if you wanted to. And as we explore the city of Budapest, we'll settle into the ship, get a chance to see some of the surroundings, and then the following day we'll work our way out on a Budapest city tour. And that incorporates some of the beautiful bridges along the Danube River, including the Chain Bridge, the Elizabeth Bridge, and you can see the river cruise ships that line along the river there. We'll work our way up to the hillside, which is the Buda side of the river, and see Gellert Hill. And it's a beautiful view of the river and the Parliament building down there with the dome. We then visit Buda Castle, and it's a really impressive castle structure dating to the 17 and 1800s. A lot of adjustments made over the years and renovations, both on the interior and exterior. And up at the top there is also the Matthias Church, a beautiful structure dating back to about the 1200s. So really impressive sightseeing that's incorporated. We also have a local guide with us for each of these tours and a whisper headset. And those are a great opportunity to be able to hear the tour managers and the tour guides as we go. But they give you great detail about the area, the history, and some fascinating stories. Over to Fisherman's Bastion, and this was built in the mid-1800s as a viewpoint and terrace overlooking the river. And it's named as Fisherman's Bastion because it does hang over where the fishermen used to spend their time near a fishing market. So really lovely spot to get a chance to view out over the city. And that's up near the castle there. As we work our way on the Pest side, we'll also be able to get to see St. Stephen's Basilica, dating back to the 1850s. The Budapest Royal Palace, and this will be a mix between motor coach touring as well as walking. So a little bit of both, but great sightseeing all in all, including the Parliament building that sits right there on the river. And this is where the National Assembly takes place. Then that afternoon, you'll have some time at leisure in Budapest, and this is one of my favorite cities to go walk and explore. It's a great mix of modern architecture as well as that Eastern European style. So really fascinating all in all. They have a great market that you'll be able to see on the city tour with all the specialties of Hungary, including paprika. So there's a lot of paprika that's grown and processed in the outskirts of the city. That evening on board, we have local entertainers that join us, and we present a folklore show on board the ship that night. And so they're dressed in costumes and do dancing and singing, so great performance all in all. But it's a really fun opportunity to learn more about the culture of Hungary. The next morning, we'll be cruising along the Danube as we work our way to our next stop, and that is Bratislava. So that afternoon, we'll arrive into Bratislava. We get a chance to do a city tour by motor coach as well as walking. We'll get a chance to see the Philharmonic Hall as we tour, the summer home of the Archbishop, as well the presidential residence. One of my favorite parts of the city is the Old Town and the old city walls, which are just beautiful. We'll start the Old Town walk from Michael's Gate, and that's the beautiful entryway into the streets and alleyways of Old Town with their fascinating shops, restaurants, and cafes, and working our way into the Old Town Center, which is where the Old Town Hall is located. And we'll have some leisure time there to explore. You'll get a chance to spend some free time exploring some of the local structures and streets and shops, and that's a really beautiful place to do so. We then work our way up to the castle. We'll see the palace as well. But the castle overlooks the city, and it's just a beautiful structure with a bunch of museums and artifacts on the interior. The following morning, we cruise out and work our way into Vienna. And Vienna is such a classical city. It's a beautiful, more modern city in a lot of ways. A lot of it was rebuilt after the war. So most of the structures date to the 1950s and beyond. But several historical sites throughout, including the cathedral. So this will also be a mix between motor coach time as well as walking tour. We'll get to see the Opera House, and Vienna is known for its music. So both from opera as well as classical music, it's a huge performing arts center. The Ringstrasse is the outer loop of the city by roadway, and so we'll get to see a number of the city parks and areas, including a number of palaces. And so we'll see the Hofburg Palace as well as working our way through to other areas. And that afternoon we have at leisure. So you can go out and explore the city. We dock just to the north of Vienna. And we also provide an optional tour, and that goes to the Schönbrunn Palace. It's a beautiful structure dating back to the Habsburg dynasty. And so tons and tons of rooms to visit. We do a guided tour throughout. And so it's really a fascinating sight to behold, both the interior as well as the gardens and the fountains in the back. We'll tour many of the rooms and the beautiful hallways with their incredible paintings from the 17 and 1800s and the lavish antiques and furniture. We then dock in Vienna late into the evening, so you have a chance if you wanted to go back into the city at night. It's a lovely place to visit, very safe, and fantastic bars and restaurants as well. So if you wanted to take a meal off the ship, you're more than welcome to do so, as long as you're back in time for departure. And then the next morning is at leisure, or we also offer an optional tour to Dürnstein. And this is in the Wachau Valley, a beautiful stretch of the river with castles and amazing palaces. And it's known for its wine productions. So you can see the vineyard in the far end just past the tower there. But we'll do a walking tour of Dürnstein. So a lot to see within the town. And this, as a wine producer, is a fascinating stop. You'll have all sorts of opportunity to taste some of the local wines. So both reds and whites that are produced here. And a lot of that is grown in granite. So really rich minerality to the wines, but a good variety there. We continue cruising that afternoon through the Wachau Valley and work our way over to the city of Melk. I say city, but it's really just a town. It's quite small. But one of the great aspects is the Melk Abbey, and the foundations of which were laid in 1089. You can see the historic building just down to the right, which is the city center. And then up in the top in the abbey itself, that was constructed between 1702 and 1736. And this is one of my favorite stops on the cruise, not only for the views, the amazing rooms that we get to explore, but also the library. And this is the view from outside the library, looking out over the Danube River. And in the distance there is one of the many locks on the Danube River. And those locks control the waterways, bringing boats up to process working their way either direction on the river. So you'll learn a lot about the locks as we go. The stunning library inside Melk Abbey is one of my favorite spots on this tour. It's really impressive with all the volumes of books they have in there. And then we enter into the chapel, the beautiful church, and its gold ornate design. And we're led this entire way by our local guides in groups of about 20 to 30 or so. The next morning, we stop in the town of Linz, and we have the optional full-day excursion to Salzburg available for that day. If you choose to stay on board and not do the optional, we will be cruising along the river and working our way from Linz to Passau, where the folks from the optional then come back and meet us. So it's a great opportunity to enjoy the cruise experience. There's a lot to offer on the ship, and I'll go into that in just a minute. But the optional full day to Salzburg gives you a great insight into one of the great cities of Austria. And we work our way by motor coach out to Salzburg. We're dropped off on the far side of town, and then we walk through into the Mirabell Gardens. You get to see the beautiful old town. And many of these areas were filmed in The Sound of Music. So it's a really fascinating stop to get to see a lot of those sites and remember some of those parts of the film. But beautiful views from around the city as we go. And then we'll cross the bridge over to the main part of town, which is home to the Dom Cathedral. And it's a beautiful setting. Get a chance to see the beautiful church and the main squares throughout town. We also have some free time in that afternoon to grab some lunch at one of the many different restaurants that's available within the city. A lot of great shopping in Salzburg as well, especially when it comes to chocolates. They have great chocolate shops to enjoy some of that specialty. And marzipan is one of the things that is produced quite heavily within Austria and Germany. And then Mozart Square. This is the birthplace of Mozart, and we actually get to see the house where he was born and where he grew up. So really interesting aspects of music as part of this tour. Before we head back to the ship, we'll stop in the town of Mondsee. And this is where a lot of The Sound of Music was filmed. It's a beautiful little town on the water's edge of one of the many lakes. And we learn a little bit about the filming locations of The Sound of Music. We'll meet the ship back in Passau. So during that day, the ship will be cruising from Linz to Passau, and we'll meet that evening right around 5 o'clock or so. We board the ship again, and we continue up the Danube. Then it's off to Regensburg, and at this point we are in Germany, and a wonderful city, getting a chance to explore. We'll have our local guides take us across the bridge from the motor coach parking into the city center. And the Old Town is a UNESCO World Heritage Site with incredible structures, many of which survived the war. And so these beautiful buildings with their designs and structures, very German in their architecture. And of course, the Regensburg Cathedral, this beautiful Gothic cathedral that we get a chance to go inside. We'll then have some free time to explore the town and some of the great shops that are located there. And we also do a brewery tasting, as Germany is one of the most well-known cities for beer in the world, all different styles of beer as well, from the Weiss beer, which is wheat beer, through Helles, which is a little bit lighter, and Dunkels, which are heavier. So a lot of variety there, but we'll do a great beer tasting as we go. And then that last night, we'll do a wonderful Bavarian evening and our farewell dinner. And these are more lavish meals when it comes to the welcome and farewell. So you really get a great multi-course meal. Usually they go about 6 or 7 courses deep on these. So it's a little more extensive, and a great wrap up with their fantastic desserts. They'll introduce the entire staff, the service staff, and it's a celebration of the entire cruise that we've enjoyed. So it's a wonderful opportunity to wrap up the program. We then disembark the ship and transfer to the Munich airport on the last day and fly home from Munich. Now, I mentioned a couple of the amenities on board. There's a lot of great activities on the sun deck of the ship, whether it's shuffleboard or chess or any of those great features. There's also a massage spa on board the ship. So for any of the time that's at leisure, I highly recommend booking a spa appointment and getting a nice treatment. It really helps to settle in on a vacation. So that's one of the many great features that the ship does have to offer. Then we fly home on day 9 and work our way back to our local airports. And then we do offer a 2-night extension to Prague at the end of this program. And so this is a great opportunity to see the wonderful areas of Czechia, or the Czech Republic. So this goes from Regensburg to Prague, and we travel to the town of Pilsen. It's a lovely area, beautiful city with many of its original buildings and structures, as well as a mix of modern. And we'll do a great Czech lunch with a Czech beer, famous for Pilsner beer, which is a lighter beer. And then into the city of Prague for a 2-night stay. And we'll work our way on day 10 out on a city tour. It generally starts up at the Prague Castle, getting a chance to see the beautiful cathedral and church up at the top of the hill, the castle complex, which is full of different palaces and wonderful museums. And then this is the Golden Lane. This is a stretch of these beautiful colored homes. And within those homes are all sorts of great museums dated to the medieval time. And so there's all sorts of armory and swords and all sorts of great crafts within these buildings that are fun to pop into as we go. We'll work our way down the hill and cross over the Charles Bridge. And this is one of the most famous bridges in all of Europe, with its beautiful statuary that stretches the entire length. And that leads us through into the city center, and we work our way into the Old Town Square. After our city tour, we'll get a chance to see some of the things and part of the square with our local guide. We also see the astronomical clock as we get off the bridge and work our way into town. And this goes off just about every hour with the performance of the clock maneuverings. So kind of like a cuckoo clock in a lot of ways, but really impressive to see that in its history. It's been there for several centuries. We have time at leisure that afternoon, so you can explore the Old Town. There's some great shopping within that area. And then also a wonderful stretch to get a chance to explore the Jewish history and the Jewish quarter that's just onwards. This evening, we do a dinner and folklore show on the outskirts of Prague. And so we're taken by motor coach to a wonderful folklore show that provides dancing and music and costumes of the Czech Republic or former Yugoslavia. So really impressive to learn about the heritage and culture. And then if you've done the extension, we fly home on day 11 from Prague. And we wrap up. Just wanted to touch on a couple of points. We'll open up the questions here in just a moment, but if you do book a new 2026 tour or European river cruise by Friday of next week, we're doing a one cabin category upgrade, which is available for $200 to $400 per person of savings on any of our remaining European river cruises. And then one of the big aspects that we've done for this presentation on our webinar is a drawing for $1,000 off the wonders of the Danube. And we've been able to select a guest as part of this for the winnings, and we appreciate you all joining us today. So I'm going to announce the winner, and hopefully she is still on. But Mary Davis is the winner of the drawing, and this is for $1,000 off the wonders of the Danube. So Mary, congratulations. We appreciate you taking the time to join us today, and thank you to all of you who have come on. But we'll open up the chat for any questions. So myself and Holly are available to answer those. Again, thank you all so much for joining us, and we look forward to assisting you on your next vacation. If you are planning on booking, we highly recommend doing so as soon as possible because these staterooms, these cabins are filling up. You can book reaching out via email at afctours.com, april@afctours.com, or samantha@afctours.com. You can also call our local number, 858-481-8188, and you can reach us by phone. But thanks again for attending, and the chat is now open if you do have questions.